Trainmaster diesel, Athearn Blue Box Southern Pacific locomotive with a small freight train. Probably add a few cars to that one, actually. It's sort of a short train. Anyway, I've got a person in here, Lackawanna Rail fan. Welcome to the live stream. How are you doing this evening? I'm going to set it to live chat too, so hopefully I don't miss too many messages. I'll try my best. Yeah, I got Sabertooth, Wawa 111 Mainline, Top Hat 04, Pennsylvania Rail Productions, Best Guess 3060, The Cool Guys, Trainman 1993, F40 Productions, The Railroad Empire, Austin 54, Railfan Noah 06, Luke's Locomotives, Dreyfus Hudson Productions, Rusty Edmonds, Heather Hayes, Dreyfus Hudson Productions, JD Railfan, D. Kendrick, David Z to G Scale, welcome. CT Woodcrafters, hello, how are you? David Colin, hello. Aiden S, welcome. Luke Skeen, Trackside Rail, Lennon Newman, Rail Chief 88, Franz Fernandad, Fernandand. I still don't think I'm pronouncing that one right, but anyway, welcome. Austin 54, Jackson's Cahools, Erica's Pictures, Melon Master, Eric the Train Fan, Stay Loaded, Lone Wolf, Cody York. Okay, I can't pronounce the rest of that one, sorry. Piano Man Lessons, hello. Evans Train Tube, Solaris Hem, Ralphan 225, Joseph Batts, Aaron Sadowski. I hope I'm getting that one right. I'm really bad with names, I do apologize. Anyway, we'll run whatever people want requested. The first request, I'll run it just as long as it works. Do you watch TSG Multimedia? Yeah, I have before. Good channel. The Republic of Blogs and Gaming. Hello. I hope the stream is still live. It went down for a moment there. I don't know what caused that, but in any case, we'll get this one going. Can we do the Royal Hudson for a start? Sure thing. I was going to run this. We'll run it in a sec too, because it's also a great engine, but it's a request. There's just lag. Okay. That's good. Anyway, I'm going to get the Hudson off the shelf here. I'm just going to put my phone down because this is an engine that I like to be a little bit more careful with, just because it does have a tender as well. And if I try to pick it up one-handed, I'm probably going to drop it, so yeah. Let's just get that all set up. Evening, everyone. Welcome, Short Hood. Toy Train 7, how are you doing, SMT? I'm well, how are you? Do you have any Norfolk Southern trains? I've got two. I've got a Norfolk Southern low SD40-2, and I've also got a switcher, which was sent to me very generously from someone that's here this evening. Yeah, anyway. Here's our Hudson. Let's just move that forward a little bit. Such a smooth runner. Look at that. Oh boy. Had a bit of bit of trouble lining up the couplers here. There we are. Okay, I think we're good to go. What's up, my dude? I'm well. How are you? Did you ever get the 4449 to run? No, I still need to buy parts. I need to do something about the 4449 situation. I want to have a running 4449. I mean, it's one of my favorite locomotives. Gorgeous engine. But, yeah, it's just the thing is it's not cheap any way I go about it. If I want to buy replacement parts for my current one, it's going to be $80 and up. So probably looking at about $100 for that. Which, you know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but to buy replacement parts, plus I have to install it, and things can go wrong, so I don't know if I want to take that risk. So there's that. Then I could buy another Bachmann one, but I'm not a big fan of the quality. I mean, I've gone through two of them now, both from just manufacturing. They're just not well built. So then I could buy a different one from a bit more of a high-end company. but those cost even more than the Bachmann ones. So what do I do? Spend the cheapest amount, take the risk, buy the cheap Bachmann one, and potentially get another dud, or cough up the big bucks and get one that will probably run for a while. I don't know. Could you please run the Christmas train? I think it's super cool. I would, but it's going to be for the sole purpose of that charity. So I need to figure out a way to link these live streams to that charity, and then we're going to do a stream which is going to be solely for the Christmas train. And in that stream, I want to make it so I'm hoping the donations actually appear on screen. That way I can credit people that donate, and yeah, maybe people can choose the locomotive they want to see for their donations or something. I don't know. We'll do something. But it's already good what's happened. People have been very generous. We've already raised $141 for the Global Food Bank Network. So, yeah, very pleased with that. Hey, SMT, first time here. Picked up a K4 today, and I love it a ton. Well, good for you. Welcome to the live stream. We generally just kind of run trains on this live stream. People request certain things, and we have a good time. Not a crazy amount of structure. It's all just for fun. Can you run the Ontario Northland by Lifelike? Yeah. Let's get that out. How's it going up there in Canada? Pretty good. The weather's actually been a bit more mild lately, which is surprising. Not much snow, which has actually been causing some problems for one particular project, but we'll see. Knowing our climate, we'll get a pretty good amount in the not so distant future. The question is when. Yeah, that's how it should go. The question isn't really if, it's more a when. I'll probably regret saying that, but anyway. Hey, SMT, there has been a while since I've been on one of these streams. Well, welcome back. You got over 6 million views total on your channel. I can't believe it, honestly. Never would have guessed. Save up your money and buy a DCC 4449. Well, DCC itself is not really that expensive. I mean, I could buy pretty much any model I wanted and add a decoder for $30. DCC, not a big concern. It's more just deciding what kind of quality of locomotive I want. Who's seen the K&L Trains proto video for their new locomotive? I can't say I have, but I have watched that channel before. Hey, SMT, have you ever thought of getting an APT advanced passenger train? Yes, I certainly have. They don't go for cheap for obvious reasons, but they're obviously tempting. I mean, pretty impressive experimental train. Really, really cool. Kind of reminds me of kind of a European version of course, Canada's LRC. The LRCs were not near to as impressive, but similar. They were kind of a shot in the dark sort of train, and they also had active tilt too, which had never been used in Canada to my knowledge. Disabled shortly after because there were a lot of concerns about that causing problems, but it is cool that at one point Canada had trains with active tilt. Run your grandmother's Hiawatha. I don't really run that one too often just because it usually requires a fair amount of maintenance just to run it properly. I don't know, something's always breaking on it. It's a princess of a locomotive. I mean, it's like a 70-year-old Italian-built engine. You know, what do you expect? Evening, Harrison. Chippewa Northern checking in from cold Central Florida. Welcome. How does the DCC thing work? This? I don't really know how I'd explain it. Anyway, I think we'll swap this out for the Ohio Northland locomotive. Let that pull this freight train around for a moment. That should be good. Can you run the runaway train? Yes, we can run that. Okay. Oh, Ant and Bruce, welcome. Amtrak tried a new train with active tilt and immediately abandoned it because it was causing passengers. Yeah, I have heard that those trains can cause motion sickness. I'm not entirely sure I guess it just depends on how it's done, though, because what I don't understand is they said that the APT trains caused motion sickness. Apparently, it was a big problem. But Richard Branson there, he introduced the Pendolino trains through Virgin Railway, I guess it's called. And they've had those since 2001. And they're, as far as I know, the Pendolinos are still out there operating with active tilt. So I don't understand how, you know, they could, if it was such a big problem, how those Pendolinos would still be functioning. I mean, they would go out of business. I don't know why anybody would go on a train that makes them sick. So yeah, I really question how that all works, but maybe there's something different about the Pendolinos. Just got a 4449 American Freedom train today, and I love it. The Freedom train, I mean, Southern Pacific had a great paint scheme, but you gotta love the red, white, and blue all over it. I mean, it really does look great. Don't the Amtrak to Lagos sets have tilt control? I wasn't aware of that. Is there any way Nerfcat could join the live stream? I don't know if he's inside right now. He's very bored, though, because it's so cold out. He doesn't really want to spend time outside, so maybe we could drag him down here. Do you get American nickel in your change? Yeah, if you're talking about American change mixing with Canadian change, that happens all the time. I mean, the coins are pretty much identical in size. Canadian quarters and American quarters, pretty much the same thing. Obviously, they look different, but they're size-wise pretty much I think they are the exact same size. I thought I needed a conversion card for this, but it turns out this lifelike is so fancy, it has a knuckle coupler. Wow, I've never bought anything this nice before. Okay, let's give this thing some power here. Come on, lifelike. The timing of that was poor. In New York, we get Canadian coins with us all the time. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It's the same thing. You see, even too, when Canada still had the penny, we were getting them, the American ones. You'd find those all the time. But that's done with now. SMT, do you prefer model train shopping online or in actual stores? Generally, actual stores. I mean, shopping for trains online, it can be fun. But there's nothing like the experience of actually going into a genuine train store and looking through it. And, you know, actually, if you find something you like, you can actually pick the model up and look it over. And in some cases, they can even test it for you. So it's a better experience. And I've also made the case many times on this channel. Retail stores usually have better prices than online. You know, there's a lot of people out there and they say that it's the online stores, they're killing the retail stores because they're more competitive. And they might be through being more convenient. You know, it's very easy. It's much easier to just jump on your computer and order something than it is to actually drive to a store, buy the item, and then drive back to your home. But, you know, first of all, I find the prices are actually always worse, even on things that are brand new. And you also have to pay for shipping. Now, you could counter-argue then to that, well, you've got to use your time and fuel to drive to an actual hobby shop. But I think most people in the hobby go to bricks-and-mortar hobby shops anyway, so you can kind of chalk that off there in my books. And, yeah, you end up saving a ton of money. Especially if it's something big, you're going to save a ton of money on shipping by just buying it. My sketchy Wish model train stuff is here. Video being filmed. I didn't even know they had train stuff on Wish. I was quite surprised on another channel I watch once in a while, Sam's Trains. Some Chinese manufacturer is apparently making this very weird variety of HO scale steam engines for $50. No particular brand or manufacturer, but I'm very surprised to see that kind of like, A no-name brand for model trains. That might be a first for the hobby. For the Christmas contest, I have a few questions. Will the winner have to pay for shipping, and how will the winner be contacted? I don't know how I'm going to contact the winner. I kind of just figure it out every year, but I won't charge shipping. I'll cover that. I always do. I just always cross my fingers that whoever the winner is not somebody located on an island in some weird part of the world where it would be practically impossible. Otherwise, I'm in a bit of a bind. But if you're in pretty much anywhere, the States or Canada, it shouldn't be too hard. Even if you're in Europe, I'll have to cough up a pretty penny, but that's okay. Hey, SMT, can you please run the BNSF next to your controller? Absolutely, that's what I dragged it out here for. Hey, SMT, we got our first snow yesterday in Lancaster, PA. Just a couple of flakes, but we are supposed to get some Friday and Wednesday. Oh, nice. If you like snow, of course. But in my country, you kind of have to either like it or deal with it. There's no getting around it. Unless you're one of them people living out in somewhere like, I don't know, Vancouver, where they get those heat waves. Hello, SMT. I was destroying cars on BMG Drive. Also, when does the Christmas contest end? The cutoff date for entries is going to be December 19th. I'll probably count the votes up for whoever everybody felt did the best entry. I don't know. I'm not going to make any promises that I'll get the video up that day, but I'm going to try to get it up around there. Time is just very volatile, I guess, I could say, in my life. So I don't really like to make promises on when I'm going to get a video out, because I know for sure I would disappoint, because I set dates. I'm like, okay, I want to get this video done by then, and I usually miss them by a little bit, or I upload them in the wee hours of the night, because things can be unexpected sometimes. So yeah, I don't want to go setting people's expectations one way only to disappoint. I still go to my local hobby shops because they have stuff I can't get online. Well, that's another point too. I mean, some shops have great selection, and especially when you're buying used stuff. But first of all, I find the stuff you buy from the stores is a bit better, but also since you can have a better look at it, if you buy something that's kind of junkier, you can actually get a good look and make sure you're getting a fair value. The truth is too, most good stores, if it's something that's in really bad shape and you feel the price is too high, sometimes you can even bargain them down a little bit there. And I've done that a few times with some locomotives where, I just feel they're pricing it a bit too high. I'm willing to buy the engine, I just don't want to pay full price for it. And most of the time, especially if you're a really good customer of their store, they'll say, yeah, no problem. Especially too, like for the Canadiana DD35 or whatever it is, that thing was selling for $70, way too much for an old Athearn. It's probably worth about $50, at least it was in my books. It's about how much I was willing to pay. They had that thing for a long time, so it was clear there was not a lot of people with interest at that price. And they took it on a test run. It performed okay. So I was like, okay, I think I got some negotiating power here. So I brought it up to the cash and said, here's the deal, I'm willing to buy this engine. You can get it off your lot right now if you'll take $50. And the guy was like, yeah, sure. Can you run the GO train with either your favorite locomotive or an Amtrak Genesis locomotive? Type doesn't matter. Also, where is Nerf Cat? Don't know where Nerf Kitty is at the moment. I can run it with an Amtrak locomotive. I don't. Does a P42 count as a Genesis engine? Can you run the Athearn Genesis steam train? Oh yes, of course. On the sawhorses. How do you enter the Christmas challenge? Well, you make a video of your display. Really, all you have to do is put the hashtag SMT Xmas Train 2020, I think it is. I don't know. It's in the video. There have been a fair amount of people contacting me saying, can I email you the video and stuff like that? And unfortunately, I can't handle the video myself, because of course everybody needs to be able to see your video in order to vote. It's not me who decides who made the best one. It's all of you watching, or at least everybody who participates decides that. Yeah, you have to upload it on YouTube, and you have to put the hashtag for it to be available to the public. And then provided people search for that hashtag and find the video, then or you know, go through and figure out what video you like. Hopefully you'll get some votes. SMT, how do you keep track of all your engines that are DC or DCC? It's nothing fancy. I just know which ones are DC and which ones are DCC by memory. I don't have a crazy amount of DCC ones, so the ones that are DCC are sort of distinctive. Also, generally, most of the ones that are DCC are higher quality. So, you know, it's not hard to guess that almost all my Tyco engines and Athearn Blue Boxes and stuff, almost all of those are DC, but you got fancy Kato one or a Bowser, or, you know, more of the high-end ones are DCC equipped. Also, SMT, did you see what I sent you on Instagram? Yes, I did see that this morning. Very, very cool. It's interesting you changed your name, though. I was wondering if it was still you. We shall get 100 likes. What, on the live? What DCC power pack do you use? I want to do a similar setup for my layout and have DC/DCC. I use this one. It's a Digitrax DCS51. It's a decent controller. I always try to tell people, though, that this is not necessarily the best controller you can get out there. And the reason I say that is because this and my Bachmann Easy Command are the only two DCC controllers I've ever had any experience with. So I don't know. The others might be worse. They also could be better. So do some research and find one you like. For the DCC setup, though, it's really nothing complicated. It's just a DDPT switch or something like. I can't remember the exact letter combination there, but it's something like a dual pole toggle switch or something like that. Somebody in the comments will know. But anyway, you just wire two sides of the wires to one and the other wires from your other controller to the other, and you just run some wires out of that to the track. Dirty Dan's Trains, welcome to the live stream. Well, that's all I had to say. Dan Heckler will once again disappear. Okay, well, nice seeing you, Dan Heckler. Hope you return soon enough. Anyway, we will get the runaway train on, as I said, and then I guess we'll follow that up with the whole Go Train thing as promised. SMT, when do you think the contest will stop? Well, the cutoff date is December 19th, so if you want to make a video and enter, you have until then to do so. Because after I count up whatever people have voted for, that's going to be that, and then obviously whoever gets the most votes will win the draw, and they'll get the engine. And I'll have to figure out a way to contact them so I can get their prize shipped off, and they can enjoy their brand new IHC. What is it? A 440? I guess it's just a 440 steam engine. You should make the unstoppable train. That would be pretty cool. The nice thing about the runaway train is, unstoppable, I don't know what they were using. I think they might have been AC 4400s or something similar to that. Those are kind of more expensive, harder to come by. But all the engines in the Runaway Train movie, these are all the dirt cheap kind of engines you can find in train set, type quality things. So I pretty much built this train that you see right here out of junked engines that I had got from one place or another. Which is sort of nice, because I'm no expert at making stuff, so if I screwed it up royally, wouldn't have to worry. It was already kind of junked stuff anyway. It wasn't even like good quality. It wasn't even train set quality stuff that was in good shape. It was all stuff I bought for like $2. But you can't do that with the Unstoppable one, because people are not giving away those AC 4400s cheap. Plus, you need to buy decals, which is another nice thing about this. This was just like some spray paints that I happen to have laying around. I know this isn't really related to the stream, but by my house in Wisconsin, USA, there's a really busy mainline and Canadian Pacific runs through there sometimes. I've heard, yeah, the Canadian Pacific is pretty active up in Wisconsin. If you have the undecorated models, I think they may have the decals for the unstoppable locomotives. You can definitely buy them on eBay. I don't know what they're going for price-wise. Probably 16 bucks, I think, is how much they were last time. Very disappointing. Alan Smith is not here to approve my oranges. Is Alan Smith? Yeah, Alan Smith. That's the guy who does the Millennium Force, right? How do you tell the difference between DCC and DCC without controls but with I? You can't really tell them apart unless you open up the locomotive or you give it some power. I can't think of any way to do that, at least. Yeah, pretty. Yeah, because I mean you could take a DC engine and throw a decoder inside of it. Of course, it's under the shell. You're not gonna know what's in there. So yeah, I guess the only two ways to know is either giving it some power, figuring it out, or opening the engine up. Which some engines not so tricky to do, but on others, getting inside can be a bit more of a task. So if you're trying to find that out quickly, it wouldn't be helpful. SMT, is the big boy still broken? It is, unfortunately, although somebody's been helping me try to find parts for it, so hopefully if that pans out, might get it running within the next few months. Otherwise, I might have to go on eBay and try to find parts, but I don't know how easy that would be. I want to get it running again, though. It's a fantastic engine. Anyway, I think we will now take these off and start running this thing with an Amtrak engine of some sort, which should be fun. Can you run your Polar Express Burke? That one also doesn't run. In fact, I'm pretty sure it has the it has the exact same problem as the big boy. One of the gear or one of the screws fell out, and now it's all messed up. Unless that was the other Berkshire, I don't know. I can't remember. Both of them are out of commission at the moment for one reason or another. David Z2G scale. Wait, what happened to the big boy? I don't know exactly what happened to it. It was, I'd run it one live stream a couple weeks ago, and it was running fine. And then the next live stream, I go to run it, and I found out that it had lost one of the little bolts which hold on the wheels. So I wasn't too concerned about that because I figured it must have just dropped out somewhere along the line, and it's not like it can really roll off the table because it's got these in the way. But I've looked around the table and I've looked around the floor and I can't find it anywhere, and the only two places I brought it were either it was running around this table or it was on top of the factory, so I have no idea where it went. So really, really weird. Hopefully it will turn up, but I don't know. It might have just fallen off in an obscure place, though. That can happen sometimes. But desperate to get it running again. Okay, so first we need to source our Amtrak engine. I think this one should do if it has a coupler. At least has a front one, so we could run it backwards, I guess, but it does, so that's okay. And now we just need to get the train. How long did it take for the main layout to be built? Well, it's sort of hard to say because this is not start to finish construction. It's kind of like you start off and then you go back to rebuild sections. So it's been in the works since 2007. But if you're asking that question to try to figure out how long it takes to build a layout, then it's definitely not that long. How's the daylight doing? If the daylight doesn't work, can you do a restoration on it? Well, I've tried to get it running before. The problem is that it actually has a physical problem. It's not, like I can just change the oil or put something back in place. Like, it has a mechanical problem, which can only be solved either by some crazy gluing experiment, which is risky, or buying new parts for it. So I'm confident I could get it running again. I just don't know how I want to go about that. A large magnet over the layout. I took a neodymium magnet and ran it along the sides, but that didn't seem to pick anything up. I mean, it's a fairly sizable bolt too, so like I feel like I could see it, but I don't know. Never even checked. I assume those are made out of steel. Where did I put that magnet? It's got to be made out of steel. Do you have a Père Marquette 1225? I do not have one of those now. All right, so here we go, the Amtrak. Wow, those are very similar heights. There we go, here's our Amtrak. What are these things called? I don't know, double-decker go-cars. There's a more specific name. Yeah. A couple of heights messed up, I think, on this one. Got another Amtrak engine I guess we could try to get going, but don't know if it's going to work. Hey, SMT, how do people become moderators on a live stream? There's not really like a specific way people become moderators. I sort of just hire people that I think are fit to be moderators. There's tons more in the chat, but you only need so many people to keep an eye on things. So just no point in appointing more people as moderators if ones that are already there are taking care of things. Thank you to all the ones who are here, by the way, for helping out. Do appreciate it. Now, where's that Amtrak engine at? Here it is. First engine I ever bought with my own money. Back in 2008 or so. I don't know why the shell is off, but don't seem to fix it. I guess this engine's an Athearn blue box. Interesting. Have you run that Transformers 25-ton switcher since? No, I haven't done anything to it ever since purchasing it. All the engines which I've been buying recently in lots, they're all going to get restored. The only thing is that I'm still doing repairs for some people at the moment. Repairs which, you know, I received the engines back in like August and stuff like that. So want to focus obviously on people's repairs, you know, prioritize those. I don't make any promises on how fast I can get that stuff done, but it would seem silly to be working on stuff which doesn't have a deadline versus people's things which they're presumably waiting on. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but all my Amtrak stuff seems to have a couple of height issues. That or these bi-level cars do, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think this one's going to work either. I'm trying to think. I know I've got more Amtrak engines. We're just going to keep going through them all until we find one that works. There's got to be one. In fact, one just came to mind, which is that one David sent in. I don't know if it has a coupler, though. Let's have a look. There we go, another Amtrak. Well, it does. It's kind of horn hook, though, so... yeah, it would work, though. Just need to put a car which we'll say is for baggage between them. Here we go. Here's our baggage car. It's actually a ready-to-roll locomotive, Harrison, but basically constructed identically to Blue Box some of the early ready-to-roll locomotives were constructed this way. That's interesting. I wasn't sure, because I didn't remember it coming in an Athearn Blue box, but it looks identical, including it's got the steel wheels, which I thought were phased out after the blue box engines, but I guess not. Although, in my kind of budget engines video, I talked about steel wheels being a downshot because they're rough and they do shoot out sparks and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people that were actually saying that they like the steel wheels because apparently, I guess since they're a little bit rougher, they actually do a better job at gripping the track than the nickel silver ones do. So maybe you take a small hit for electrical connectivity, but I guess for pulling, they're actually better. Huh, this engine's not starting. We've got a light on it, but it's not going. Well, I guess we'll throw that on the restoration bench. Yeah, I think I've just about run out of Amtrak engines to pull this thing, so we're just going to use the GO train, tried and true. If you have any GP9s, I don't know if I have any that would run. I could pull this set. Trying to think for a moment. Have a look on the shelf. There might be one that could do it. We got the Lionel, or we got this. I don't know if this. Well, that would probably work actually. Yeah, let's try that. Do you have a nickel plate Road 765? I do not have one of those. But go GT or go home. Yeah, I like that. That's funny. Okay, let's see if this junked, well, practically junked Lionel has it in it to pull this train. Coupler is already not off to a good start. If I kind of lift it. There we are. All right, Lionel. That was the wrong way. Now it's probably going to disconnect. Nope. It's holding. Well, it's flogging its motor, but it's going. That's not bad, actually. It's just having traction issues. It's running fine. You run the British engine. Yeah, sure. Thinking about it yesterday, too. I don't know if the couplings are compatible, but I realized I have some rolling stock, which might work with this stuff. Canadian Pacific, please. I don't have any Heritage units, so I can't run any of those, but I could definitely run a Canadian Pacific one. SMT, I was wondering, does your HO scale have noises like the Warner Bell? Is that the kind of HO scale you have? Well, yeah, I have some sand-equipped locomotives. Most of them aren't, but there are some that have sound features. Can you give me some tips for building a layout? Well, this may seem like pretty obvious advice to a lot of people because it's not that complicated, but the thing I usually tell a lot of people that are building a layout, especially if it's for the first time, is build the layout that you want. So make a list of everything you want and find out what it is you want by going through, go through media and stuff and figure out, if there's a scene in your town or something somebody has on their layout or anything that you like, put it on the list and make sure that it's part of your layout, because you don't just want to build 2 circles of track and call it a day. You want to build something that you're actually going to be able to enjoy for potentially many years. So make sure you have everything you want. If you want a freight yard, put it on there. If you're the type of person that really cares about realism, I know there's a lot of people, some of them well-meaning when they say this kind of stuff, but you know, to say if you want to build a layout, you got to pick like a time and a location and steam or diesel and all these other things. And I mean, if you really care about history and that's something you enjoy about the hobby, you know, fill your boots with that stuff. But generally, if you don't, I would just avoid that stuff because it's just going to complicate things. And ultimately, you know, if you have fun collecting all sorts of different engines and stuff and putting on all sorts of different buildings, even if they're not perfectly realistic, go right ahead. So that would be my advice for building a layout. I'm going to be making some videos, though. I want to release them throughout January of 2021 of how to actually build a layout from start to finish. So we'll see how that goes. I am thinking it out. I know how to build a layout, but I just want to make sure that the advice I give is quite clear. And yeah, hopefully I can help some people build layouts out there, because there are a lot of little details that obviously I wish I had known when I was building my layout with my dad way back when. The hobby is about creativity, in my opinion. Yeah, exactly. It's about, you know, seeing, you know, what your abilities are, but also, you know, it's the point of any hobby is, you know, to spend your time doing something you enjoy. And so, I don't know, there's a lot of people which, you know, especially beginners who, you know, are not as skilled with scenery and stuff like that. There's some people that are very harsh on those types of people, and they say, oh, you're doing it all wrong, you know, this isn't realistic. If you want to build this properly, this is how you go about it and stuff like that. And obviously, there's nothing wrong with people giving advice. Maybe they want to improve their skills, but you know, if somebody builds something that they're proud of, maybe it's not perfect to somebody who has a lot more experience, and they have this person just come and dump all this negativity on them. It's going to really discourage them and maybe even draw them out of the hobby, which is not what you want. So what I like to tell a lot of people is that the point of the hobby is, you know, enjoying yourself. So you can't really screw it up just as long as you're enjoying yourself. If you want to build trees out of, like, you know, plasticine or whatever and stuff like that, they're not going to look very realistic. But if you enjoy doing it, you're doing the hobby right. So that's kind of one way of looking at it, I guess. If you want to build something, do it and have fun too. Exactly, that's the spirit. Okay, I'm not sure what engine to run next. Can you run CN, CSX, or NX? Well, okay, I did remember, though, somebody wanted me to run Canadian Pacific, so I can run that. I think I'll pick the older Athearn one, though, because, frankly, it will probably just run. That layout inside your layout, nice Caltrain locos. Also, what happened to the Japanese train on your shelf? I don't understand. Yeah, it's not going to be my layout. I'm building this layout, but it's for a youngster who is going to be getting into the hobby very soon. Family friend, their dad reached out and said they want to get their son into the trains, so we're going to be building them a layout. Do you know how to build a mountain for a layout? There are many different ways you can go about it. This is one way, which is where you actually get pieces of styrofoam and you cut them up and you sand them. And it can make some decent scenery. It's all right. And you just kind of cut that to how you go, and you see how I've layered it up and glued it all together. There's a newer way, though, which I've been using a lot. It's really dirt cheap. I mean, it's going to cost you pennies pretty much to build these. So these are some mountains I've built right here. And they look all right, in my opinion. They need a bit more detail. They're not finished. But all I've done is I've pretty much just taken cardboard, just layered it up and kind of made it sort of rough. And then to get this sort of rock texture, you just get yourself a roll of this stuff. It's, I think, called deli paper. I don't know. It's just buy these big rolls of paper. And yeah, all you do is you cover that in glue and you put it over top and you just sort of stretch it around. And it works not too bad in my opinion. You throw some paint on there, a little bit of scenic grass, stick some trees in it, and in my opinion, you actually get some decent looking scenery. Christian K 2008, yo SMT, how are you? I'm well, how are you? Let's see too, it says I've got another super chat. I don't get it. It says I got a $2 super chat, but that one's for $5, so I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, thank you for the super chat. Request for the Daylight Diesel ABA set. I don't know if I can run the whole ABA set because the B part had a bit of a problem. But I can probably run an AA set with some fancy passenger cars. So we'll do that. And then there are some requests for some Norfolk Southern, so we can run one of those too. But we'll get the Southern Pacific set going there. I just gotta find all the Southern Pacific engines, which are inconveniently in different locations. So there's our diesel. Now I just need to find the dummy. There's the B on it, but something's wrong with the wheels on it. I don't know what exactly, but we need to sort that out. Yeah, I don't know where the... Well, maybe it's just an A set with a good train behind it. Can you run the Amtrak Acela with the go-cars? I wish I could run the Acela with other cars, but unfortunately, the Acela doesn't have a typical... It doesn't have, like, knuckle couplers. It has some really weird coupling system, which is only compatible with Acela cars. It also broke off mine, so the Acela has 0 coupling now, which is unfortunate. In any case, so there's one car. And we got another couple down here, so that's good. And I see a few more on that shelf, so we should have a pretty good one. Hey, SMT, do you have any German locomotives? I have one, actually I've got 2, I just realized. I can show them both. Let me just set this train up here. Okay, this appears to be missing a coupler, and so does this, so maybe those were off to the side for a reason. But if we're lucky, we'll have a different one, which we can use as a conversion car. Let's see, do we have a coupler? Yep. And another couple of couplers. There we are. Okay, this should work. What time is it there? It is 10:27. Hey, SMT, can you run a Canadian Pacific F unit with the Pac-Man scheme? I can try to run one. I got my Athearn one running once again, but that one's in an undisclosed location, not downstairs, because it's part of a project which I'm working on right now. In fact, it just received some pretty serious modification to work properly in a different climate, but yeah, I've got some other ones which we can run. Okay, so this has both got knuckle couplers. This has got a horn hook and a knuckle coupler. So this is a conversion car. Unfortunately, that also has a horn hook coupler, which means it's compatible with these cars, but I can't hook it up to the other ones. So here's our Southern Pacific train. It's lost a few cars, but I think it will still look good. So we'll get that running, and then we'll put on some other equipment. That's not good. All right, let's have a go at that again. I just got a set of Southern Pacific Daylight cars, and sadly I don't have a train. Well, I don't know what's up with this engine. I think the wheels are uncorded or something, because this thing keeps just kind of coming off on the switches, even though the cars went over them fine. So I think we'll run something else, because this train clearly needs some time sunk into it before it will work properly. Strange too, because usually the Athearn blue boxes are pretty good for staying on the track, but I mean, if the wheels have become out of gauge a little bit, then that's not a problem. Been out of YouTube for a while. How's the Hershey factory coming? Not much has changed on it other than building a visitor entrance, which is sort of blocked by the bridge girders, but I set a date. April 2021. That's not that far away anymore now. It's funny, when I set that date, I was like, an entire year. I've got tons of time. It's not like it needs a crazy amount more work, but I've got to get that rolling again. I don't want to run over my set date. I set that date, and that's that. So should be done by then. So somebody wanted me to run a Canadian Pacific train, Pac-Man F unit. So we'll dig one of those up. I think we've got this lifelike one right here. Can't remember. I might have worked on this one recently. In which case, it might actually not run too bad. Yeah. Hershey gang, yeah. Just say, ever since launching that project, I'm so complimented by how many people showed interest in it. I was kind of going out on a whim there, making a factory, which isn't necessarily related to trains, but just say everybody's been very supportive of it, which is very nice. So what's the plan with the factory? Is it going to be its own layout, or is it going to be attached to the main table? It's on its table right now, but it will be attached to the rest of the layout, because, it does have rail purposes too. There's going to be a switching in the back. I mean, it's going to be an industry. I don't do a crazy amount of switching and stuff like that, but if I get this yard going, I don't know, maybe we can shift some cars around and drop them off at the factory, maybe pick some up. Just play around with it. We got a super chat from Christian and didn't read it. I don't know what's going on. There's this thing that says when I get a super chat, it holds it up there. Oh, you're right. That's weird. I don't know how that one got past. How do you keep a locomotive in the yard without running it whenever any other engine? Also, please run a CN. How do you keep a locomotive in the yard without it running whenever you run any other engine? So I think what you're asking is, if you have two DC engines on the track and you give one power, how can you power one without the other moving? The answer to that is you've got different options, basically, to control separate engines. The first one is to just buy yourself a DCC system, and either DCC equip your locomotives, or by DCC engines. So that's the first one, and then with DCC you can just literally contact each engine and control it from your controller. That's pretty easy to do. The other one is a little bit more complicated, but it's a technology which has been used by model railroaders for many, many years, and it's called electrical blocks. And how those work is basically you separate your sections of track. So right what I have here, this whole loop, that's one big kind of flowing area of electricity. But if I were to put insulated rail joiners here, and on the other side, I would turn, let's just say, half of this loop into an electric block. And what that means is kind of like you run a train onto an electric block, and then you have a switch, and you can just shut off that section of track. So the locomotive gets, once it gets beyond the block, you can shut it off. So with a yard, you can put electrical blocks, and then you get yourself a switchboard, and let's say you have each track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could say that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and you run a locomotive onto that with the block on. When you get it on that section of track, you shut the block off, and now the trains which are on the other track can still move because they've still got power, but the ones on block 1, let's just say, can't move because that section has been shut off. So that's how you can manage multiple trains on the same track. Some people can, I've never figured this out because it started more complicated, but some people can actually run multiple trains at the same time on electrical blocks. The coordination for that is a bit more complicated because you have to have things like a common rail, but it can be done. I mean, common rails are common even in most electrical blocks, which is basically where you have one rail which is connected to the rest of the track and another which is separated. So you separate one rail, which does the same thing. The only thing there is you have to do it right, because if you wire it backwards, it will either not power up at all or it will cause a short circuit. So it's all figuring it out, really. I remember there was one time I'd really confused because I didn't understand how this all worked. But what had happened was I had my layout wired a certain way, and I'd rewired it, and I'd flipped the wires on the controller, and it interfered with this thing, and it broke all of my electrical blocks. So one day I was trying to turn on electrical blocks, and they wouldn't work, so it was sort of confusing. But what I hadn't realized, by flipping those wires the way I had it all wired up, it actually messed up the entire thing. So yeah, interesting how that goes. Big boy's in the shop. It is, unfortunately. Oh, cool. You have a switchboard. Thought maybe you didn't have to power on some tracks. Do you have the switches in the switchyard electrified? Or is that the current hold up? The track isn't even fully constructed in the yard. That's the thing. It's like it's been a year since I was working on this. I tore up the entire yard because it was a big mess to rebuild it, but I never completed it. So these tracks, these are not held down. Well, I guess that one is, but most of them are not. And then to make matters worse, I put down this stuff which I'd painted, and it didn't move when I did it, but apparently the paint dried or something, and now the whole yard is messed up. So yeah, there's a lot to be desired with it. It needs work. But electrical blocks will probably return to the layout once I have this fixed up. Just because they are, even with DCC, they can be a convenient way of storing engines. Can you run your Kool-Aid locomotive with the go-karts? Sure. First time on the live stream, picked up a K4 today, and I love it. Well, welcome. Put that there. So here's our glorious Kool-Aid train. Now we'll run it with the Go set. SMT, you're my role model in the train hobby. Keep up your good work. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate that. Hello, SMT. Just subscribed. Thank you. Guess the couplers on these have gone bad again. I don't know if it's just because these things see a lot of use, but I've been changing the couplers like crazy. I think I need to buy some better ones. These Bachmann ones are not as great as I once thought. Got some, maybe some metal Cadies. I feel like the metal ones would probably last longer. Because just like just about everything out there, metal is just better than plastic for almost every roll. Just lasts a really long time. I'm sure the same goes for couplers. SMT, today I found a 4884 Daylight and Big Boy Steam Locomotive mixed together on eBay. Have you ever heard of this? I saw some listing that had like, yeah, 4884, well, I don't, if it was a Daylight, but it was one of those cab forwards. So it was a cab forward, a Big Boy, and a whole bunch of other Rivarossi engines. But they wanted something like $2,000 for it. The Big Boys, I think, are probably worth $200 or $300, maybe. I don't know how much those cab forwards would go, but I don't know. The Big Boys are worth a ton of money because they're very wanted engines, but the truth is most Rivarossi engines shouldn't, I mean, think ones like the Hiawatha, those are rare, so they're worth a lot, but most Rivarossi engines, you don't want to be paying a crazy amount of money for, because although they're really nice runners, they're well built, they require a ton of maintenance. So it's not so much that they physically break like parts break, but they come apart, so screws come loose, and they're high maintenance. It's hard to distinguish the difference, though. So to me, in my book, if parts physically break, like the gears crack and stuff like that, that's poor quality. You don't have that problem generally with Rivarossi engines. Stuff doesn't really break, but it can become out of tune. Cady coupler should slide right into the coupler boxes for Bachmann. On those passenger cars, you might want to use long shank Cady. I can send you the Cady chart if you'd like. That would be great. Well, Locomotive is in the video thumbnail. It's my Train Master Southern Pacific diesel. Hornet couplers are reliable, not realistic, but reliable. That's fair. They're also not too bad for holding on, especially like I use a lot of trains with horn hook couplers on this layout because the track work is just so uneven. The horn hooks actually do a very good job at hanging on. The only thing they're not so good at, unfortunately, is looking good. But hey, if you want to sacrifice realism for functionality, they'll do an okay job at that. Remember, my training buddy's freaking out, though, because there's some guy, I think he's actually in the Ottawa area. I guess he's known as being well off and has a very extravagant layout, but doesn't like knuckle couplers. So he's been buying Rapido locomotives and immediately ditching the Cady couplers for whatever you call them there, horn hook couplers, which is sort of funny. Buying $200 engines and sticking couplers meant for kind of like train set quality engines. But hey, the hobby's about enjoying yourself. If you find that makes your experience more enjoyable, I guess whatever floats your boat. I just think it'd be funny though, seeing fancy Rapido engine with horn hooks on it. Need to constantly check Rivarossi trains for loose screws and stuff. Yeah, it's happened on many of my Rivarossi steam engines. where parts come loose and stuff like that. They just require a lot of tuning. When they are running, they're running great, but I don't know. They're kind of like Italian cars. When they're running beautifully, but they need a lot of maintenance to keep them going. You have so many locomotives. Do you find boxes of them at flea markets or garage sales and stuff? Not really garage sales, but yeah, train shows and stuff like that. Big lots on eBay. I buy most of my engines pretty much junked. They're they're not worth much. But hey, you fix them up, and I personally enjoy that part. And you get them going, and even if an engine's junked, if it's a well-built engine at its core, you can get it running again usually pretty smoothly. I bought all of these engines right here recently, and they're all full of problems. This one, I mean, just look at this. Look at the oxidization. And this is completely seized too. It's not going to go. So these are all going to require a ton of work. But like, for example, you know, if I can get this thing unseized and I remove all the oxidation and lubricate all the gears, this could turn out to be a fine runner. It's got a 5-pole motor and it's still a well-built engine. It just needs some work because it's all oxidized. And, you know, same goes for most of these engines. They're all well-built. This is a band drive one. Again, wheels, crap. But with some effort, these could turn out to be decent runners. This is a Varney, I'm pretty sure, but awful shape. I don't even know what somebody did and then tried to weather it or something. But yeah, you buy these things for $5 or $10 each, fix them up, and you get, you know, some decent engines for not a lot of money. The truth is, too, sometimes, this is not always, but sometimes you get an engine where it's just a wire that went to the motor that broke, and since the engine maybe hasn't run for 20 years, all the parts inside of it have been preserved, and when you clean them out and re-lubricate them and stuff, the engine runs like a dream because nothing's worn. I also found out the hard way that some have bearings in the motor shafts. I lost 2, but my cab forward still seems to be running okay. Yeah, the River Rossies, the really old motors have ball bearings in them. They're very they were the best 3-pole motors probably ever put in any model train. I mean, I don't know any other manufacturer that put actual ball bearings in their motors. But I can't remember which it was, either Riva or Rossi. One of them, yeah, I think it was Mr. Rossi, because I think Riva was the name of the facility or the area it was in. But anyway, he was very serious about making quality motors, because his idea was that if you build quality motors that all run at a consistent RPM, you can put them in all of your engines, which are geared the same way, and you can make engines which all run the same speed, and you can run engines together. Not a bad idea, which is why River Rossi engines have lasted so long. It's because they've got really good motors in them that were really well built. But yeah, ball bearings, they can be a pain. They're very tricky to do maintenance on. I know, because I've lost the bearings out of my Hiawatha like 5 times. Gee, what were they? I think they're 1mm bearings though, and I'm pretty sure you can buy them on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. So if you lose some, you can order them off the net and buy more. So I remember with the Hiawatha project, somebody sent me those, because obviously I guess 1mm bearings were not only used in River Rossi motors, they were used in all sorts of other things, so you can buy them. I'm glad when my Katy wheels come in so I can try out my Burlington Northern 5 impact set. Came with trailers too. Howdy Harrison, sorry I'm late, can't stick around. Hope you have a great rest of your week, boss. Thank you so much, CR de Hovo. Christian K 2008, do you know this YouTube channel called Need for Life? found this channel a few days ago, and he has the most amazing layouts. You need to check him out. I don't know if I've seen that channel before, but that name called Need for Life, that sounds very familiar. I feel like I did see that channel as well. Yeah, I had to have. But anyway, thank you so much for the super chat. I'm thinking of starting a second channel in a few weeks dedicated to my model train layout and stuff. Do you happen to have any advice when getting started, or should I just do what I feel is right? I mean, yeah, follow what you feel is good. My advice to anybody running any YouTube channel, though, make the content somewhat consistent. What I mean by that is, you know, obviously, like, if you want to do, I don't know, if you want to do train videos, but you also really like go-karting, make a go-kart channel and make a train channel. Don't mix them, because there's a lot of people that do that. If all you want to do is stick videos on the internet, man, why not? But the only thing that can happen is if you try to mix different types of videos that not everybody's interested in, sometimes people will actually get frustrated and end up just leaving because, you know, they came for the trains, and if they're bombarded with, you know, something else, they might not like that. So that's pretty much my only advice. I'm no expert with YouTube. I mean, this is done all right for itself, but I'm not going to stand around and say that's due to expert skill or whatever. Go-karts and trains. Yeah, oh, I mean, it would be a fun channel. I'm not going to lie. I'm just saying that not everybody would like go-karts and trains necessarily in one package. uh, 20.5K. Wow, I remember the live stream getting to 1,000. Yeah, especially this year as everyone's really pushed it forward. Northern Country Railroad, welcome. How are you? Do you have any tips on cleaning a very dusty steam locomotive? If you're talking about just dusting off a locomotive, what I usually do for dusting off engines is I just use a very paintbrush. You can buy them at your dollar store, but one that has a very kind of soft brush to it. You don't want to use anything too rough, and just gently brush around all the details. And the great thing is that if you use a brush which is very gentle and you're very careful, you can just kind of brush the dust off. And the bristles are so gentle they won't, you know, pull off details and things like that, and you can kind of just maneuver around them. So yeah, that's how I'd go about it. I've done it many times on engines. Do you consider the prize a freight or passenger engine? I guess freight, but it could probably be used for passenger. I mean, these are, I don't know, some kind of wild west trains. I don't even think they had specific engines for freight or passenger. I think it was kind of like whatever goes. I have lots of old trains from when my dad was a kid. That's how some people get into the hobby. I'm actually included with that group. My dad had trains as a kid, and I ended up inheriting all of his stuff, which is still part of this layout. Sort of an interesting way to get into the hobby, too, because you've already got a head start. You've already got whatever equipment they had. I started watching your channel for the train fixing videos. You do a good job of showing how to take apart stuff and explaining how to fix it. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. I mean, it's all just for fun, but you know, it's good too. You know, if maybe people inherit a train of some sort, a locomotive, and they want to sort it out, get it running again. It's good, especially too. I get some people reaching out and saying, "Oh, SMT, you know, my dad had this this old lifelike engine from when he was a kid, and hasn't run since, you know, like 1995. And I watched one of your videos, and I opened it up, and I found the problem and got it running again." And that's great too. You know, people are getting some of their treasure trains running again. Do you have any bullet drains? I do not have any of those, no. Hey, SMT, my day hasn't been good. My mom got tested positive for, I guess I can say, the COVID. I probably have it too. I'm really sorry to hear that. Thanks to you, I was able to piece together a train out of old parts in a box after I saw you fixing with the same bits. Very nice. Did you know that the Union Pacific Big Boy was fixed in 2019 and ran on the rails once more? Oh yeah. It's all over the media. What's that layout in the corner? Future project. Alright, thanks for the advice, Harrison. My channel is animation related, so that's why I wanted to make a second one in the first place, to keep things consistent since the two aren't related. Well, that's definitely, I think, a good way to go about it. I mean, of course, too, there's nothing wrong if you have two topics that are unrelated. You can still link the channels and say, hey, if any of you happen to like train videos, I got this channel that has train videos, or and vice versa. If you have a train channel and you say, hey, I do videos about animation, there's nothing wrong with plugging it. It's just when people mix videos, that's where it can cause problems. It's not always the case, but I've heard that from many other YouTubers, and I've had channels before this one where I used to just kind of throw all sorts of different stuff on, and people weren't happy about it. I tried donating, it didn't work. Also, remember, I'm the one who asked for a shout out a few months back. Oh, welcome back. Yeah, I don't, if you're talking about the whole charity thing, my grandparents said they donated $50 to the charity, and it hasn't gone through yet, so I don't know what's going on. The numbers for the charity, they were climbing up, and then they just stalled, so, but I've had people saying that they donated, so I don't know what's going on with that. Especially if you don't put them in separate playlists, it becomes a pain to find specific videos. Yeah, it's just about, yeah, I don't know, finding the same type of content. Like on this channel, there is a variety of content. You know, I've done some videos about the speeder, and some videos fixing trains, and some running trains, and some buying trains. But it's all about trains, so, you know, there's kind of a consistent general topic. But, I don't know, there's a difference between doing stuff that's all sort of within the same sort of area, and then there's going into a completely different field, like, whatever. What is the most valuable locomotive of any scale that you own? I've got a couple that are worth a bit. This one right here, I paid 600 Canadian dollars for it, so it's the most expensive engine I've ever bought. I would never usually cough up that kind of money for an engine, but this one was very sentimental because this was the same type of locomotive that used to run on the local tourist railway. Used to be run by my grandparents, so it was a very sentimental engine, so paid the big bucks for it. The other one that also is worth a bit, I mean, it's worth way more in sentimental value to me, but I know it does have some value, is the Hiawatha here. Those, as it would turn out, are kind of rare, and you see them going on eBay for pretty high prices. Some people list them for 3,000 American dollars. They're not worth that much. Mine is definitely worth way less than a lot of them would be because it's not in mint condition. But those things can fetch $1,000, so they're pricey engines. But it's about the joy, and you know, that's what that thing's worth in terms of monetary value. But sentimental value, I mean, that was my grandmother's childhood train right there, and I ended up getting it going, so, you know, I don't know. There are trains that I have they're practically worthless. People probably wouldn't pay over 20 for them, but I wouldn't sell them for 1,000 because they're so sentimental. How do you make another channel on YouTube? I can't remember the exact process. Just search up a tutorial, you'll find it. It's not very hard to do. Can you run Chuff Chuff in the Christmas train? I can run the 210 too, but I don't want to run the Christmas train until I get the charity thing sorted out, because I want to run this train specifically for the charity to help raise money for the food bank there, so we'll leave it for then. Greetings, SMT. Will you be purchasing the Bachmann Siemens Charger unit anytime in the future? Probably not. I'll be on. If somebody wants to buy one of those, hey, it's your money. Do whatever you want. It's all about enjoying the hobby. Personally, I don't really like the Charger locomotives. I kind of find they're sort of ugly. I'm also not a very big fan of Bachmann, so they're kind of wrapped into one there. I seen on eBay broken NS was over 2K. Who's gonna pay that? Nobody would buy that. Some people, I think they just hope somebody desperate will come along and cough up the big bucks for it. It's not really worth that much, but yeah, that's what they'll do. Anyway, I'll run one last train. It is getting kind of late though, so I will finish off the live stream pretty soon. But we'll get the 210-2 on there. Have it pull this train around, and then I think we'll call it an evening. You should build a layout to race trains. That would be fun. Technically, I could, because I bought that massive box of track for 50 bucks a while back. There's definitely enough. I don't know. I can't remember. I think I bought something. I think I bought 75 feet of track in that lot. So yeah, I mean, I could divide that up, and I'd have two 35-foot lengths to race on. That's not bad. Northern Country Railroad. Hey, Harrison, I'm 3 away from 350. It would mean so much if I could. Yeah, absolutely. That qualifies. Everybody go check out Northern Country Railroad, who is only 3 away from their goal of 350. I've seen Northern Country Railroad's channel before. Quite good. Very enthusiastic model railroader is what I would describe them as, and a nice channel where they show off their projects. So if you want to see that type of content, go check out Northern Country Railroad. Their channel's somewhere in here. MSTS is 2001 is still a good simulator for old computers. I have an old Dell Dimension 2300. It works really well on that. I agree with that. I don't find there's ever been a simulator since Microsoft Train Simulator which has actually ever captured the weight of a train. You really do feel like you're driving a big, heavy train in that game. I also really like the physics engine for crashes. Oh boy, that's not good. No, this isn't working. I think these go-karts need some work. I'll run something else, I guess. Yeah, I find MSTS is a great game. Still my favorite train simulator, at least. It is showing its age, though. The graphics really do look old. SMT, is the layout portable enough to be moved into your house when you get older? I don't know if this can be moved, really. I mean, it could be, but it would be a hassle. Anyways, I think I'm going to finish off the live stream. I hope you all enjoyed this evening. I certainly enjoyed hanging out with all of you. And yeah, hope you all have a great evening. I'm going to send a parcel of HO trains. Thank you so much. Anyway, good...